Thank you very much for that warm welcome. If I can please ask my fellow panelists to join me on stage. We'll start with Marloes and Mr. Khalid Gahtani and Osama AlOthman. Welcome everyone to this session at the Future Hospitality Summit in Riyadh 2024. Today we'll dive into the dynamic interplay between private innovation and public vision for Saudi Arabia under Vision 2030, and how together they're geared up to shape up the future of this region and unlock its true potential. We're joined by leading figures from Kerten Hospitality, from Rikaz Properties, and Aseer Investment Company. We'll kick off with you, Mr. Osama AlOthman. If I can start with asking you, how does Aseer Investment Company integrate both the private and public sector activities, and what advantages does this hybrid model offer in terms of fostering economic growth and development in general?
Thank you, Mohammed, and good afternoon, everyone. If you want to look at the Triple P program, any Triple P program, you need to identify what is the secret of the success of that program. And the secret of the success simply lies in aligning the interests between the public and the private sector. Now, the thing is, how can you align that interest? Okay, so in Aseer Investment Company, since our inception, which is approximately around 18 months ago, we were trying and we were working restless to figure out how can we get our interest, because we are a PIF company, so we play the two roles. We play sometimes as a public, sometimes we play as a private sector. So we looked at the private sector. What is their interest? Their interest is, of course, finding the right opportunities, okay, bringing risk-adjusted opportunities, offering scale, transparent regulations and policies, okay. Last but not least, a bulletproof investment case and an investment thesis in front of them. Once you have all of those, okay, and we, Aseer Investment, as an investment company, we are fully aligned with all those interests, okay, because we are financially driven. We have reached a very good stage of partnering with the private sector.
Thank you for that. On to you, Mr. Khalid. Rikaz Properties started off as a family-owned business, focusing on logistics, contracting, and now is gaining some really good ground in real estate development across Saudi Arabia. How do you align your projects with the national agenda under the umbrella of Vision 2030 in collaboration, again, kind of close to my first question, in collaboration with the public sector to ensure the success of lifestyle development projects?
Thank you, Mohammed, and for the audience. If I would share a story that started 2020, during or after the pandemic, traveling outside Saudi was not an option. And for the first time, I rediscovered Saudi Arabia. So I'm born and raised in Eastern Province, but I haven't traveled much more than what Dr. Fahad said, Jeddah, Mecca, Medina, and Riyadh. And that was an eye-opener by all measures. The first one was of an 8 days road trip from Jizan all the way to Neom. And that got followed up by more trips to Al-Hassa, which is not very far, Hail and everywhere else. And I think the seeds for that alignment started there. where, to be very honest, there is something interesting. I did come, similar to what Haitham mentioned before, in 2019, when the visa issue, inauguration event happened. And like anyone else, and in the end of the day, I'm a business person that is from a private sector, that we are very much financial driven, and we would like to call ourselves efficient. Although my experience with PIF, as far, for example, as well, they are as efficient and as fast and as speed as us, and in fact is even more. So this invited us to look at what opportunities is there, what exactly happening, and how we can align ourselves to. I think that was the seeds. So our real estate background has 30 years of background, but that started going further than that is in exploring region by region and specifics. Then comes the whole notion of PPP, the public-private partnership. This is a model that has been seen within Saudi in different sectors. Tourism is a very important sector, and in the same time, the roles of the companies that Osama heads and others is to be that enablers, to be that facilitators, to be doing the things that we alone as a private sector would not be able to do, much aside the Ministry of Tourism or the TDFs, which also are all enablers and creating that ecosystem that made it happen. I think now it's not about whether there is a case to be proven or not, but what exactly we believe in and what we can do that is really important. And every one of us here in the audience, probably he has his own angle. Being here, it means he or she is a believer. And I think this is a perfect time to really discover, connect, and network, and find your niche. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Marloes, last but of course by no means least, you know how fond I am of your properties. I've stayed and I know two of them very well. The last one was Dar Tantoura in Al-Ula, which is unique in so many ways. In the development of lifestyle destinations such as the properties that you have, how does Kerten Hospitality, would you say, strategically collaborate with the private sector in effort to create a lifestyle that is something you want to open up to the world on Saudi soil?
Thank you very much. I think we have two great examples here. When we just talked about what Osama and AIC does, we talked about the kind of the way that you set it out, the hybrid. When we talk with Khalid, we talk about private sector. I think we're really lucky to be in Saudi Arabia today to have people that have a vision. It's not just we come in and say, we want a lifestyle hotel or a lifestyle residence or anything else like that. At the moment, the amount of master plans that are there, the amount of visions, the driving forces in, key destinations is Riyadh, for example, but also in destinations like Alula, in destinations like Yambu, like Asa, like Aseer. There's so much happening that a company like ours that doesn't go by brand standards but by brand guidelines can really play in with that, because we look with any developer, any project, and say, okay, what's the location, what's the destination, and who's the target audience? Once that's defined, we actually look at, okay, now what do we develop? How do we adapt our brands, and how do we adapt the concept to really play in to driving that audience to the destinations? And so we really collaborate with, if that's, with the private sector or, with the public sector, to say, instead of saying, this is our brand, this is what you have to build, and let's hope that somebody comes, is what do you want to develop? What are you trying to drive? How can we play into that, and how do we fit? And it's really working very well for us here.
In the time that you've spent in Saudi, which was 4 or 5 years since your first?
Yeah, longer even, yeah.
Would you say year one in comparison to year 5, is it night and day? Has the market matured so much in those 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I would say in the beginning there was a lot of excitement. After that, it was a more of a fast-forward approach. And I would say now it's almost a real approach. You really see that, you know, the projects we're discussing and the projects we're doing are being built. Yeah. And I think this is very different, where from the beginning, you know, you talk about pink clouds and, you know, kind of the hypothetical projects and all of these gorgeous reports, they're now coming to life. You know, it's the amount of scaffolding that you see, digging, licenses that are being given, and architects, designers, licenses, master plans being signed off are coming all together to actually start. And I think we've all learned through this journey, right? We've all gone ups, downs, and everybody's had some of their plans cut or moved, or, you know. I think everybody's learned so much over the last couple of years in such a fast pace that now it's happening. Yeah. It's really happening. And I think there's a big difference. And you really can see in the market today who's there to stay, who's there to build, and who's really eager to do, and is learning from everything that has happened over the last couple of years. So yes, it's day and night, and it's moving.
True, I can attest to that, because just driving down the road in Al Ula, there's a lot less computer-generated images and a lot more cranes that you see. So just a testament to what you just said. Mr. Osama, if we can go back to the subject of Aseer and that exciting region down south, you mentioned the development of a bulletproof financial model designed to withstand the rigors of the private sector. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that for us?
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's again, the secrets of the success is you know what you are best in, okay? And we know what we are good in, and we know what the private sector is good in, right? In our model, our partnership with the private sector, it is part of our DNA, right? So it is something that we have to do with. And we look at the private sector as a strategic partner now. Private sector is, let's face it, they're financially driven, right? They want to invest their money and they want to get the returns on that, which we share the same objective. So the challenge is let's put a model that works for them and can stand any due diligence that they will do. A model is a model. Right? It's at the end, it is the quality of the output pretty much depends on the quality of the assumptions that you use in your model and in your business case. So as we are more realistic and more conservative in our assumptions, we build an investment cases that I can comfortably say that they stand in front of any due diligence with the private sector, and they most of the times they deliver in terms of promising to the private sector, and we would like to keep it that way. We don't like to over promise, okay? But we would like to be more realistic.
Yeah. With all the essential elements for becoming a tourist destination, how do you envision the ecosystem, and to what extent do you believe that it's going to have to rely on partnerships between private and public sectors to fully come to fruition? I'm still with you. Yeah.
For me?
If you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, look, as I mentioned, the private sector participation, especially in Aseer, is critical for the success of our investment. We, at the end, are an investment house that we're going to invest in certain areas, right? We're not going to invest across all the ecosystem of the tourism, right? But we are, I would like to say, we are the gatekeepers, so we're opening the gate for the investors. We're facilitating for the investors. We're building the infrastructure that will encourage them to come and do the ecosystem, the investment in the ecosystem of the tourism. I will just say, for example, logistics investments, transportation investments. That will come naturally as we are progressing with our investments because the investors at the end, the private sector will see the opportunity okay? And we will be there, and we will be happy to partner even with them.
Thank you. Ustad Khalid, with the numerous projects that are being announced in Saudi, almost like a new one every week of quite a big scale, how does that affect your plans as far as Rikaz Properties is concerned, particularly with new destinations that are opening up?
I think it's like anything else. You do what you do best, and you have to choose wisely your area of interest. What really resonates, works very well with your ethos, with your values, with your strategic ambitions. So for us, it is not another cookie cutter. We don't see ourselves in a purely another luxury or another business hospitality. These are great investments, don't understand me wrong, but that's not something that necessarily works well with us. What works with us is something that really drives us out of our comfort zone, that is a bit of a spice of adventure, that is really resonates, again, with what truly the Vision 2030 means in terms of what is tourism means. So for that, as it's been said earlier, we've always been an open arms country, right? From the old of days, for different reasons, whether for trade, whether for religious, and what size. What happened now, that this 300 years old nation is transforming itself to something more than that. And for that aspect, in my opinion, the opportunity here is not only to immediately cater to the touristic or tourism goals that is the 100 or the 150. But I think there is also an opportunity to create a national, and a global powerhouses that can go beyond that. There is, to us, the experience economy is much more exciting. Redefining what is exactly the meaning of luxury in hospitality, and what is that, whatever the generation Z or A or what have you. But it's the idea is what exactly that means and how can we cater. So we're looking beyond that, and we believe the destinations, the out of the main cities, regions, it's much more exciting to us. It ticks with us, and I think that. But again, there is an opportunity for anyone who is want and ready and here. Thank you.
Does more locations on the Saudi map, is that more advantageous to the hospitality sector? And this question is for anyone here. More locations, more attractions in Saudi, does that make it more appealing for those who are in the hospitality space?
If I may, look, there's the critical mass concept, right? Okay, and it's always good. Critical mass comes with its own advantages. So there are some schools that tells you, oh, okay, fine, look, too many hotels in this area. Okay, and it's not good. Okay, its competition is high. In my view, personally, that's actually very good. Okay, as long as those hotels can complement each other in terms of an offerings, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'm totally in for the critical mass concept in the hospitality.
Marloes, how would you react to that in terms of competition?
I'd say I fully agree. And I think, if you look at a location like Alula, for example, which is small, which is really focused on driving not just hospitality for the sake of hospitality, but has put in exhibitions, has put in concerts, has put in direct flights from Paris, right? Even when you talk about the Aseer region, Osama just referred to other things than just building hotels. When we speak with Khalid or other locations, and we had some really interesting meetings this morning, there's people that talk about ultra luxury and having kind of these leisure destinations, and then you have the, call it mid-market, call it approachable, call it whatever you want to call it, right? where the talk is about residential, the talk about hotels, the talk about all of these different offerings. And I think to Khalid's point of, just opening the country for tourism, today, right, if you look at the amount of people that come to do business here, if you want to call them tourists or not tourists, right, if you want to count them or not, but these people look at Saudi and say, okay, there is this idea or a vision 2030, what is it going to be? So if you want to feed them what and where you want the country to be, if it's a generation alpha or a generation beta or whatever comes after, right? Where Khalid is saying who we're building for and what we're doing. How many places in the world are there today that are a white sheet of paper where you can build the avatars and everything else? If everything goes into Riyadh, it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense for now because you need to bring people together. You need to work together. You need to have the critical mass to, I'm sorry, but not everybody's going to take a plane just to do a business meeting and then come back. You put everybody together and you grow out. The opportunities that are there in the different destinations with the different private sector and government entities that all go in, some are going faster than others. So let's say by 2030, you have different engines that are going on. So for people like us, this is great because we can work with private sector on the short term. We can work with semi-private sector, semi-government for the midterm, and we can work with government for longer term or ginormous projects for the longer term. So the more destinations, the better it is for the country in its all, but also for the industry. And I think there's enough products that you can put next to each other to complement each other versus being the only one. One is not going to drive anything.
Yeah, and the diversity of the landscape. I think like maybe people back in your country, when you go home, they probably think that Saudi is predominantly a desert. But then you look at down south, the mountains of Asuda are completely different to the Red Sea projects, to Al Ula. So I think the diversity, would you say, is another pull?
But I think Saudi's done a great job promoting, the new Saudi Arabia. And yes, does everybody believe it or not? It's a different thing. But the diving, climbing, adventure, the different landscapes. And yes, not everybody still knows that in Abha you actually need a coat many months of the year, right? But I think as the destinations develop, you really learn and you teach others, and I think that's also the attractive part of the destination. And I think Saudi is doing a great job in the promotion and driving that attention to then settle somewhere, wherever the country lands.
Yeah. Soon you'll be skiing in Neom, before you know it. Said Khalid, what trends are you currently focusing on right now to promote a new lifestyle destination within the kingdom?
What trend?
Yeah, are you focusing on any trends to use as leverage?
So we are, first it has to be a destination. So we're staying majority out of the main corridor, if you cannot this way.
Okay.
Except and unless if it's really unique and it has something totally different than what's in the offer. Being very culture sensitive, being adventure, awareness, and it has a culture engagement. If it ticks within these four, that's the right projects that talks to us. Earlier it was said, the best thing about Saudi is the Saudis. And I think this is very true, and probably it answers your question earlier. I think critical mass is extremely important. Yeah. But in the same time, we have seen many times where I think once we're still probably the ecosystem and the regulation and a lot of the government and semi-government entities that is working on promoting tourism in Saudi is working in the, I would say, mid to big scale projects. But the moment that you allow the Saudi youth as well the opportunity from an incubation point of view or in the different regions that might not as necessary, I think this will explode further the potential of tourism attractions in these areas. We have seen many times, and I'm sure all of you have seen it, the Rally Dakar, the rally that happens in Saudi, Rally Dakar, in Saudi, and all of these funny but very interesting assistance from Saudis that is in the middle of nowhere when a car crash or and so on and so forth. I think it's there. It's how to take it down, build the right ecosystem as well for it to make it work.
You reminded me of many clips that I would watch during Dakar of people in small towns of Saudi Arabia seeing a biker falling, helping him back up, sending him on his way. And it was a British guy I was talking to, he said, now we know what the Saudi way is, that they're always there leading a helping hand, asking for nothing in return. So that was really good to see. Big master plans for Aseer, a new airport in Abha, South Osama. With the opening of these big governmental projects, where do you foresee the future of tourists to come, or potential tourists to come visit Aseer? Do you anticipate them to be from any specific markets?
I mean, look, to answer this question, I think we need to look at really the program or the plan that we operate within, which is the Vision 2030, right? Today, Aseer has all the elements of a successful destination, to be a successful year-round destination.
Yep.
When we looked at investing in Aseer, we looked at that whole program and what are the other stakeholders, i.e. government entities that they're doing, which is, for example, as you mentioned, the airport expansion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a complete plan that will drive tourists to Aseer, okay? Where the focus is on local and international tourists as well, because what Aseer offers is a very unique in terms of heritage and culture, right? Okay, and that's the beauty of Saudi Arabia. I mean, like every area offers different experience to the tourists. So when they visit Al Ula, for example, and then they go to Aseer or anywhere else, it's a totally different experience. And because Aseer is so rich with heritage and culture, okay, and that from a research aspect, that was indicated as one of the highest demand of the international tourists that they would like to see, okay? So we're capitalizing on that. We want to preserve that, okay? And we want to amplify it just a bit more and bring it up to the surface.
Yeah. To wrap up, we have one more point, and I'll start with you, Marloes. With regards to opportunities and challenges that are ahead of us in the next 3 to 5 years, we can maybe start with the challenges and the opportunities that you foresee going forwards.
I think, like with anything, right, the glass is either half full or half empty. I think the challenges are focus. I think it's really about, it's like climbing a mountain. If you climb 90%, the last 10% or the last 5% are the hardest, right? But you go Kilimanjaro, you go anything, you're not turning around just before you finish it. I think this is the biggest challenge. It's the excitement that is there at the moment, the excitement to build, the excitement to come up with concepts, with brands, with all of these pieces. The hard part will be to stay within budgets, to deliver on the timelines, to make sure that everybody's had the training they need to bring it to life, to ensure that, all the visions we've had are really there, we drive them. But I think that's also the opportunity, because I think the opportunities that are there is we're all learning, throughout. I think one of the things, when you just asked Khalid about the trends, and, Khalid mentioned ecosystem, but Osama's just talking about ecosystem in the same way. We're just, I think the opportunity here is we're not just talking about building a couple of hotels. We're talking about building new communities, building ecosystems, creating entertainment or wellness, or the whole integration within communities that we can build from scratch, I think is a great opportunity. When you talk about wellness today, it means something different than building 2 massage rooms, right? People want to live longer than 100 years. The ability to travel is much easier. I mean, we're still taking a plane. We're talking about all of these fun things, right? If I think about my grandparents or my grandparents, it would take them days to get from one location to the other location, right? Now we're waiting 2 hours at the airport, we take a plane. Our kids will not, right? They'll just take a drone or something else and move.
Or teleport.
But this is like, I know it sounds crazy, but these are the opportunities, and we're building the foundation for that. And I think that's what I mean with, if we build these true communities that we're talking about, and you're very mild to talk about it, but all of the components are coming together well. That's an opportunity. We just need to make sure that we deliver it within the time that we set and within the budgets that we allocated.
Yes, thank you. Mr. AlOthman, how would you react to the next 3 to 5 years' challenges and opportunities that lie ahead in the hospitality sector?
I would probably just to add to what Marloes have just said is be patient, right? Okay, I mean, look, I'm going to talk purely from an investment perspective. So when you do an investment, and if things doesn't really go as per your business plan, and most of the time, let's face it, most of the time it doesn't really go as per your business plan, you go back to the foundation, and you see the foundation, is it correct or not? And we strongly believe that we're lucky because we are in Saudi Arabia. We have a very supportive government we're talking about tourism now here. Okay, we're very supportive government for the tourism, strong ambitions and big ambitions for the tourism. All the government stakeholders are working collectively, okay, to promote Saudi Arabia as a touristic destination. So the foundation is there, right? Okay, so being patient is probably one of the challenges that we even have to exercise ourselves on.
Thank you. Mr. Khalid?
In a short to medium term, corporate fatigue. So probably we need more corporate retreats. There is so much going on, and it has to happen now, and it has to happen fast. I think capacity building and maintaining, whether it's in talent, whether it's in construction, because that's another element, okay, there, and it's important. And in my viewpoint is in our other real estate activities, we're now in the early stage of designing, and this is to build on your comments of the teleport and drone, Marloes. We're actually delivering residences without the full-fledged kitchen, because we have went and asked ourselves is what is kitchen means for the generation to come, because we're not building it for that. And it's completely, okay, different and interesting and frightening as well, because you're getting out of your comfort zone. And I think it's the same thing with really defining what is the experience, because in the end of the day, maybe now is the curiosity will bring someone, but what will bring him later on, and more and more. I think in long term, it's what's next. What will be the next challenge? Because I think we will be fed up before that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the panelists, Mr. Khalid, Mr. AlOthman, and Marloes. It's clear that the collaboration between private and public sector is crucial for the success of Vision 2030, the hospitality sector. So we want to continue to foster these partnerships to transform Saudi Arabia into a leading global tourism powerhouse, inshallah. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, panelists. Thank you.